Hi there, this is Callie, here to tell you about Virtel Web Modernization. What can you do with it? Let's review a few customer stories. In 2003, this European car manufacturer decided to replace the costly SNA network that they used to access a global IMS application with simpler and less expensive internet connections. With 400,000 end users accessing the IMS application 24/7 from 150 countries through locally owned and locally supported workstations, a traditional 3270 terminal emulation solution relying on client apps or middle-tier servers was simply out of the question. Instead, the customer was looking for a thin client solution, one that didn't rely on client apps or middle-tier servers, one that they could manage and support centrally on the host. Although the term BYOD, bring your own device, had not been coined yet in 2003, this customer was in fact looking for a global BYOD solution, and this is what they got with Virtel. Their modernization was a mere facelift. They changed the application's user interface look from green screens to web pages, but they didn't use widgets or AJAX features to assist the data entry. Instead, they retained the 3270 terminal emulation ergonomics for data entry. This was to avoid having to retrain their 400,000 global users. To address their concerns with response times and scalability, they benchmarked Virtel and found that it could deliver sub-second response times with up to 16,000 concurrent users per Virtel product instance. It was more than they would ever need. To support their global deployment, they used Virtel to select at logon the language in which the multilingual IMS application would serve its literals and messages. They also used Virtel to automate the back-and-forth Unicode and DBCS conversions required to support the workstations used in China, Japan, Russia, and other world countries that do not use the application's character set. The three main takeaways from this customer story are: firstly, Virtel has the strength, capacity, and performance required to support very large deployments. Secondly, Virtel has a long and successful track record with BYOD initiatives. And thirdly, Virtel comes with integrated Unicode and DBCS support. This global bank needed to develop a GUI for a CICS application while the application was being converted from VSAM to DB2. Their requirements included seamless integration with the corporate website, no change to the application code to avoid interfering with the DB2 conversion. The modernization underwent 3 phases. In 2005, the screen user interface was replaced with a simple web user interface. The dated look and feel of the screens was replaced with a modern website look and feel. Drop-down lists, graphical calendars, checkboxes, and other JavaScript widgets were deployed to guide and assist the data entry while hiding the actual screen field values from users. But AJAX technology wasn't used, new application features were not added, and the transaction workflow was left unchanged. Note that this first development phase didn't require any application code change. Then, in 2008, they used AJAX technology to enrich the GUI with new application features and workflow improvements. It still didn't require changing the underlying application code. Finally, in 2011, the screen interface was replaced with a COM area interface, one program at a time, while the application's internals and the GUI remained unchanged. Users didn't experience any change. The 3 main takeaways from this customer story are: firstly, you don't have to change the underlying application code to develop a Virtel-based GUI. Secondly, you can develop and deploy a Virtel-based GUI in several successive phases. Thirdly, you can eliminate the 3270 screens after the GUI has already been deployed in production and without impacting its users. This IMS application is deployed globally to support the manufacturing plants of a US car manufacturer. It is a monolingual application that relies on the American English language and character set. In foreign countries with low levels of English literacy, users that do not understand English must be trained to drive the application through its American English screens, which is obviously a bit challenging. Manufacturing plants must use, sometimes import, workstations that are compatible with the American character set. A pilot project demonstrated that Virtel could add multilingual support and compatibility with local workstations to this legacy host application. 1. Using integrated Unicode tables, Virtel can translate back and forth between the EBCDIC American character set used by the host application and country-specific character sets, including double byte character sets used by local workstations. Using customer-developed templates, Virtel can serve the application's English screen literals and messages in any national language to any foreign manufacturing plants worldwide. For example, a screen generated in English can be served in Chinese. The two main takeaways from this pilot project are: firstly, Virtel comes with integrated Unicode and DPCS support. Secondly, a Virtel GUI can turn a monolingual application into a multilingual application. Here is another case where Virtel was used to turn a monolanguage legacy host application into one that anyone around the world would understand and drive. In this case, a CICS application and database documented the chemical components used in car manufacturing and the risks associated with those components. The application's and DBMS's native language is French. The application needed to be extended to car manufacturing partners that were not French literate. Fortunately, chemical components and the associated risks are identified with internationally accepted icons. Virtel was therefore configured to front-end the application with an icon-based GUI. Virtel passes the incoming queries to the CICS application. Virtel converts the text of the application's answers to icons, which anyone familiar with chemical engineering can understand regardless of their native language. This eliminates the need to understand the application's native language. The main takeaways from this customer story is that Virtel is flexible enough to support any desired data transformation between host and web. In this case, a conversion between text and icon images. This complex homegrown IMS application handles, among other things, the bills of material for a North American truck manufacturer. After an unsuccessful attempt to replace this legacy mainframe application with server-based technology, it became urgent to at least modernize its user interface. The customer wanted the user interface modernization to be cost-effective and fast, and to leave the application's code unchanged. It also had to work with any web-enabled client device, regardless of their technology. The key challenge of this modernization was to consolidate multiple screen-sized views of a bill of material, in some instances up to 50 views, into a single table served to the user. At first, the customer tried solutions that relied on middle-tier servers. They found the response times to be unacceptable because the consolidation was taking place on middle-tier servers. The screen-sized views of the bills of material, in some instances up to 50 views, had to be transferred one at a time from the host to the server over internet connections. Instead, Virtel was able to rebuild the tables from their many views locally on the host, not over internet connections, which resulted in sub-second response times. In addition, Virtel was able to serve the consolidated tables as Excel spreadsheets to some designers and engineers that preferred spreadsheets to web pages. The two main takeaways from this pilot project are: firstly, because it runs on the host, Virtel can have a complex interaction with the host application. For example, collect, process, and aggregate application data locally on the host, and send the results back to the requester with excellent response times. Secondly, when it comes to serving 3270 transaction data to a requester, Virtel is not limited to the web page format. It can as well send the data back in Excel, XML, or other formats. A few years back, the Department of Revenue of this European country approached Sysprotect to replace a Rational HATS implementation in difficulty. They found the software licensing cost to be excessive, the development to be overly complex, lengthy, and costly due to the required program changes, and more importantly, the response times to be unacceptable. With Virtel Web Modernization, they were able to lower the software licensing costs, simplify and accelerate the development because program changes were no longer required, and get the response times that they expected. In addition, they were able to leverage Virtel's integrated PDF generation facility to eliminate over 2,000 unsupported printers. That alone paid for the GUI implementation cost. The main takeaway from this customer story is that Virtel can be an attractive alternative to rational hats. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you now get a better feel for what you can do with Virtel Web Modernization. If you want to know more about Virtel Web Modernization or other Virtel products, please check our video library. Keep your mainframe front and center with Virtel.